Jared Cole adjusted the frayed cap on his head, squinting at the faded sign of Martha's Diner. It was his first time standing in that part of town, small, gritty, and unremarkable. For once, no one recognized him, and that was exactly how he wanted it. Please like and subscribe to my channel for more contents like this. He inhaled the smell of fried bacon and burnt coffee wafting through the door. It was nothing like the sterile quiet of his high-rise office at Cole Industries. This place was real, human, alive. The door creaked as he stepped inside, met by clattering plates and voices overlapping in casual conversation. "Are you going to stand there all day or order something?" a voice called sharply. Jared blinked. A petite woman behind the counter, her dark red hair pulled into a messy bun, was watching him with narrowed eyes. She wore a faded apron and a name tag that read Tessa. I'm here about the job," Jared said, lowering his voice, trying not to sound like the billionaire he was. He was Jared Hale now, broke and looking for work. Tessa rolled her eyes and jerked her head toward the kitchen. "Talk to Martha in the back. If you survive her interview, you're in." Tessa turned away, already wiping the counter again, but Jared paused, studying her. There was something about her, strength layered beneath weariness. She looked like someone who'd fought too many battles and was still standing. He nodded his thanks and made his way toward the kitchen. An hour later, Jared emerged with a job. Martha, the owner, had grilled him like a drill sergeant, but he'd managed to convince her with the backstory he'd rehearsed. He was now officially the newest server at Martha's Diner. His first shift began immediately, and from the very first tray he attempted to carry, it was clear he was out of his depth. "You've seriously never done this before?" Tessa asked, catching the wobbling tray just before it crashed to the floor. "Not exactly," Jared admitted, blushing. "People usually carry things for me." Tessa muttered something under her breath, took the tray from him, and said, "Balance is key. Watch. And whatever you do, don't spill coffee on table 4, they bite." By the end of the shift, Jared's arms ached like never before. His feet throbbed, but oddly he felt alive. Tired, yes, but not empty. As he wiped down the last table, Tessa slid into the booth across from him, holding 2 mugs of coffee. "You survived," she said, raising an eyebrow. "Barely," he chuckled, leaning back against the booth. She studied him for a long second, her voice softer this time. "You're not from around here, are you?" "What gave me away?" Jared grinned. "My amazing tray skills." She smirked. "No, you've got that look, like you've never worked a day in your life." He laughed, but something twisted in his stomach. "Is it that obvious?" Painfully. He paused, the moment suddenly heavier. "Let's just say I needed a fresh start." Tessa didn't press him, but her gaze lingered a second too long before she stood. "Well, don't screw it up. Martha doesn't do second chances." Over the next few days, Jared threw himself into the job. It was tougher than any boardroom challenge he'd faced. But Tessa? She made it harder to walk away. She was sharp, impatient, and always one step ahead. Yet between her sarcasm and glares, Jared caught glimpses of something warmer. One night after closing, Tessa scrubbed the counters while Jared mopped the floor. He looked over at her and asked, "Why do you work so hard?" She stopped scrubbing and turned slowly. "What's that supposed to mean?" "I mean you're always here. Double shifts. Weekends. Don't you ever rest?" She hesitated, then sighed. "My dad got sick last year. Cancer. I was the only one around to take care of him. Medical bills piled up. After he passed, the debt didn't." "I'm sorry," Jared said, quietly, throat tightening. She shrugged, but her voice cracked slightly. "It is what it is. Someone's got to keep going, right?" Jared nodded, swallowing hard. For years, he'd been surrounded by people who only saw his money. But Tessa? She didn't care about any of that. She was real, grit and heart wrapped into one. 2 weeks passed, and Jared was getting the hang of the job. He still dropped a plate now and then, but he could balance 3 without disaster. The diner's rhythm began to feel familiar. Sizzling grills, ringing bells, Tessa's voice barking orders. Despite the occasional teasing, something shifted between them, a quiet understanding. Jared found himself watching her more, her laugh, the way her eyes softened when she thought no one was looking. Then one Friday, as the dinner rush eased, Tessa approached him with her arms full of plates. "Hey," she said casually, "there's a charity event at the community center tomorrow. I usually help out. You should come." "You want me to come?" She shrugged, awkward now. "They always need volunteers. And you've managed not to burn the place down this week, so—" "I'll be there," Jared said, grinning. Tessa walked away, but not before he caught the faint blush on her cheeks. The next evening, Jared showed up at the community center dressed down in jeans and a soft blue button-up. Simple, clean, and nothing like the sharp suits that filled his closet back home. The center was buzzing with families, kids running around with painted faces, and tables packed with homemade baked goods. Tessa spotted him from across the room and gave a quick wave, her smile small but genuine. "You clean up nice," she said, handing him a box of raffle envelopes. "Take these to the donation table." He obeyed, pausing halfway to glance around. "This is incredible," he said. "There's so much energy." "It's always like this," Tessa replied, her voice gentler than usual. "The program helps a lot of kids. Tutors, meals, even weekend sports. Some of them don't get those things at home." Jared watched her as she spoke. There was something in her tone, a passion he hadn't seen in anyone from his old life. She wasn't just working a job. She was holding something together. "Do you volunteer here often?" he asked. "Every chance I get," she nodded. "This place helped me too, back when I was a teenager. I owe them everything." Jared looked around again, eyes lingering on the laughing children, the older volunteers, the food tables. He thought of all the money he'd thrown at charities over the years, checks written without thought. But this was what real impact looked like. The rest of the night flew by. Jared helped stack chairs, carry supplies, and even danced awkwardly in a circle with a group of energetic kids. Tessa laughed more that evening than he'd ever seen her laugh. As the event began to wind down, an announcement came over the microphone. "We just want to thank everyone who donated tonight," the speaker said. "And a special thank you to an anonymous donor who helped us surpass our fundraising goal." Tessa froze beside him. "Wait, what?" "Already," she whispered. "That's never happened before midnight." Jared offered a casual shrug. "Guess someone really cares about the program." Tessa turned to look at him, suspicion tugging at her brow. "You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you?" He widened his eyes in mock innocence. "Me? I'm just a volunteer. Remember?" She narrowed her gaze, but let it go with a soft smile. "Well, whoever it was, they just made a lot of kids very happy." Later, as they walked down the quiet street back to her apartment, she glanced sideways. "You didn't have to come tonight." "I wanted to," Jared said. "It matters to you. So it matters to me." Tessa slowed her steps. "You're not what I expected." "How so?" "You actually show up." Jared couldn't sleep that night. Tessa's words echoed in his head. "You actually show up." It was something no one had said to him before. People showed up for him, for money, for power, but not the other way around. And for the first time, he wanted to be someone who deserved those words. The next day, he showed up to the diner early with a small parcel in hand. Tessa was cleaning the counter when he approached. "Got you something," he said, placing it gently in front of her. She raised a skeptical eyebrow. "If this is your way of making up for forgetting the extra syrup again, just open it." She peeled back the wrapping slowly, her eyes widening as she pulled out a navy blue coat lined with warm wool. It was sleek, elegant, and far too expensive to come from a broke waiter's paycheck. "Jared," she said slowly, How did you afford this?" He hesitated, rubbing the back of his neck. I saved up. You're always freezing, walking home. I figured. No, she said firmly, pushing the coat back. I can't take this. Why not? Because you're barely getting by, and I won't let you spend what little you have on me. He tried again. It's not a waste, not when it's for you. Her cheeks flushed, but she stayed firm. I can't. Jared sighed, defeated. Just think about it, all right? She nodded, folding the coat neatly and setting it aside, her fingers lingering on the fabric longer than she realized. The following week passed with awkward smiles and unfinished conversations. Jared felt the distance, growing again, and hated it. He wanted to break through, to show her just how much she meant to him, even if he couldn't tell her everything yet. That's when the idea came to him. He knocked on her door one evening, a small bouquet of wildflowers in hand. Come with me, he said when she opened it. No work, no stress, just us. Tessa blinked, clearly thrown off. Where? You'll see. An hour later, she stood beside him on the rooftop of a high-rise building, stunned. String lights crisscrossed above them, casting a warm, golden glow over a small table set for two. The city sparkled below like 1,000 falling stars. Tessa, he said quietly, you deserve to feel special. She looked at him, heart in her eyes. Why are you doing all this? He stepped closer. Because you matter. Because you've changed the way I see the world. Because you've changed me. They danced under the lights, no music, just heartbeats and hope. Tessa rested her head against his chest. Jared, what are you not telling me? He closed his eyes, knowing he couldn't hold the truth much longer. The truth came out sooner than he planned. A few days later, Tessa overheard a tense phone call behind the diner. Jared's voice was sharp, stressed, unlike anything she'd heard from him before. I can't come back yet, Marcus, he said. The board can wait. She's important. When their eyes met, panic flashed across his face. Tessa didn't yell. She just asked calmly, Who are you? Jared exhaled. My real name is Jared Cole. I'm the CEO of Cole Industries. Tessa's world tilted. You're a billionaire? He nodded, guilt plain in his expression. I needed to know if someone could care about me, not my money. And I was your test. No, he said firmly. At first, maybe. But then I met you. And nothing's been the same since. She stepped back, her voice cracking. You lied. I fell in love, he said. Tears filled her eyes, but she held her ground. You don't get to say that to me right now. She walked away, leaving Jared alone beneath the hum of the diner's flickering sign. 3 days later, he returned, not to explain, but to give her something. A deed. I bought the diner, he told her softly. Martha's retiring. It's yours now. No strings attached. Tessa stared at the paper, stunned. Why? Because you gave me purpose, he said. Because you deserve something that's yours. She didn't answer right away, but for the first time she saw him. Not as Jared Cole, the billionaire. Not as Jared Hale, the waiter, but as a man willing to change. And in her heart, she knew the story wasn't over. It was just beginning. For days, Tessa kept the deed folded in her bedside drawer untouched. She hadn't spoken to Jared since the night he handed it to her. The diner ran as it always had, customers trickling in for coffee, regulars asking where Jared had gone, and Martha beaming quietly from her booth, knowing she'd finally get to rest. But Tessa, she was restless. Every moment she spent wiping tables or pouring coffee, she felt his presence. The rooftop dinner, the dancing, his words. On Thursday morning, she arrived early to open up and found a small bouquet of wildflowers in a glass jar sitting on the counter. No note, but she didn't need one. Later that evening, Martha came in one last time with a smile that reached her tired eyes. He really did it, she said, handing over a set of keys. Told me he wanted you to have it. Told me you were the reason he started caring about people again. Tessa swallowed the lump in her throat. I didn't ask for any of this. Martha chuckled. Honey, sometimes life gives you what you didn't ask for because it knows what you truly need. Tessa turned the keys over in her palm. Her voice was barely a whisper. But how do I trust someone who lied? Martha looked at her, steady and kind, by seeing who they are when the lie is over. That night, Tessa stood alone on the rooftop where Jared had once brought her dinner and dreams. The city lights shimmered below, just as they had that magical evening. She wrapped the navy coat around herself, the one she'd finally taken out of its box that morning. It was warm, and it still smelled faintly like him. She heard footsteps behind her and turned. Jared stood there, hands in his pockets, eyes unsure. I wasn't sure if you'd come. I wasn't either, she replied honestly. He took a cautious step forward. Tessa, I meant everything I said. I never planned to fall for you, but I did. Hard. She didn't speak right away. Her gaze dropped to the city, then slowly returned to him. You hurt me. I know, he said, voice thick, and I'll spend as long as it takes proving that I'm more than a lie. She looked at him for a long time. Why didn't you just tell me who you were? Because I didn't trust anyone, not with who I really am. But you showed me how wrong I was. The silence between them stretched, tense, heavy, hopeful. Jared stepped closer, heart pounding. When I first walked into that diner, I just wanted to hide. I was sick of people looking at me like I was a paycheck. I needed to disappear. But you, he paused, his voice almost cracking. You made me want to be seen again. Tessa's eyes shimmered in the moonlight, but she said nothing. He continued, every night walking you home. Every time you snapped at me over spilled coffee or smiled when you thought I wasn't looking, it wasn't a game, Tessa. It was the first time in years that I felt real. She looked away for a moment, breathing slowly. Then, softly, she said, I didn't fall for the CEO, Jared. I fell for the man who couldn't carry a tray and danced with me under Christmas lights. He smiled faintly. Then maybe that's who I'll keep being. She hesitated. This isn't easy for me. I don't do second chances. He nodded. Then let me be your first real one. A breeze swept across the rooftop as Tessa stepped closer, just inches away from him now. You broke something in me, she whispered. But you also fixed something I didn't know was still there. Jared's breath caught. Can I ask you something? She nodded. Will you let me earn your trust again? Not with money, not with gestures, just with time. She stared at him, into him, searching for the man behind the lies. And there he was, the same stubborn, awkward, surprisingly funny guy who dropped her tray 3 times in one day. Tessa slowly reached up and brushed his hair back from his forehead. You've got a long way to go. He smiled. I'm not afraid of the distance. Their eyes locked, and for the first time since everything came crashing down, Tessa leaned in and kissed him, softly, hesitantly, like testing the waters of something new. When they pulled apart, she whispered, Don't make me regret this. You won't, Jared promised. 6 months later, the neon sign outside Martha's diner had been replaced with one that read Tessa's table. Inside, the walls were freshly painted, and the coffee was stronger than ever. The booths were full, the atmosphere warm. A picture of Martha hung near the counter, next to a new plaque that read, Founded on Second Chances. Tessa stood behind the counter, wiping her hands on her apron as she shouted over the clatter, No, table 3 gets 2 pancakes, not 3. Jared walked out of the kitchen in a crisp apron, holding a tray with practiced ease. I'm getting better, admit it. She smirked. Barely. They shared a look, one filled with teasing, with history, and something stronger. Trust. Outside, a new batch of flyers flapped against the window, announcing free tutoring programs and a weekly kids' breakfast club. Jared leaned against the counter. So, boss, what's next? Tessa smiled, looking around at the space that was finally hers. We keep going. Together. And in the diner once meant to hide him, Jared found everything he never knew he needed. A purpose, a place, and a woman who made him believe in love that didn't care about bank accounts. Because, in the end, the only thing richer than truth was love earned honestly. Like and subscribe to my channel for more contents like this, and let us know where you are watching from under the comment section.